Okay, so while he's just finishing setting up, I'll introduce Pierre Chambard, who's going to tell us about interpreting WebAssembly with OCaml.
Hello. I promise it's the last time you see me. So when for something completely different, it has nothing to do with a compiler. It's an interpreter. So it's not really my work, but Leo couldn't come for this one either, so I'm the one presenting it. And yeah, and many persons did contribute to that also. So OWI is an interpreter for WASM. Yeah, why not? So it was started by Leo as an experiment, basically to learn WASM, because, well, writing an interpreter for a language is quite a nice way to learn something. And it was also to be able to experiment with WASM itself, because we wanted to extend it in some ways to be able to try our backend for OCaml, which we did speak about yesterday. So there were some extension requires that were not available right now when we did start in existing virtual machines. So, well, you need something to try. So, well, at least you could build it. But it did start like that. Now it's a bit more than that, and I will explain that later. But at least for the base WASM, it's completely passing the test suite. So, and it's quite a good test suite. Thanks, Andreas. That seems to have been quite a lot of work. And I think it's quite well tested. We built some testing, some differential testing with it, with Crowbar, to compare that to other virtual machines. So why didn't we experiment with the reference interpreter? Well, because we could write one, it's quite easy. Why not? But also because it's not the perfect design to experiment. It's convenient to compare to the semantics, but well, if you want to hack, that's not the best design. But yeah, it was not meant for hacking. So WASM, you've heard about that recently. So yeah, that's a programming language, expression language. It's not an assembly and nothing to, and it has nothing to do with the web. And it's a compiler target. And it's designed for compilation, not interpretation. Well, we do interpret that anyway. And I'm not sure it would have been that much more complex to actually write a compiler. Just took a bit more time, but well, we don't care that much about performances. So it's a simple IR. It doesn't take that much time to read the whole documentation and translate that to an interpreter. It has very compact representation and no predefined runtime. So that no predefined runtime means that when you write the code like that, you call OWI on that file, it's not going to do anything, whatever you write inside, because, well, there are no capabilities for IOs by default. So if you just write an interpreter for WebAssembly, then that's basically Haskell without the IO monad. Not very useful. So, of course, we had possibility to add extensions that you can import from a WASM module. Like if you want to export a print function, we have a nice JDT to define that print function that type check with the actual definition in the module. Yeah. Then you can do whatever you want with that and embed some WebAssembly in your camel code. But as I said, that's going to be slow. So the structure of the interpreter, that's quite simple. You You parse, there is some name resolution phase because we parse the text representation to experiment. It's a lot simpler, the text representation to type rather than the binary one. And then after name resolution, that's the phase where you could, if you add a binary parser, you would get to that representation. We were too lazy to write a binary parser, so you start there. Then there is type checking because, well, WASM is type checked. And for fun, we wrote some optimization on WASM to WASM. That's not very useful, but yeah. As I said, it was there for experimentation, so having fun with passes. And then you have to link, because it's kind of a strange interpreting language. You need to link stuff to be able to do something later. There are different modules with explicit imports and exports. So you need to link those different imports and exports together to have effectively the possibility to evaluate. And you need also some to evaluate constants at that point. And then you evaluate. But if you were to compile, just the last step would be changed. And most of it wouldn't be that different. So we did implement quite a few extensions just to be able to play with it. So that's basically WASM 2 with a few other things to play. We just didn't care about SIMD because, well, OCaml, we are not going to generate SIMD instruction from OCaml, and it's quite tedious to implement, so we just left that out. There are many SIMD instructions. Sorry. So those before were the already accepted extensions. We have some non-completely accepted extension implemented, tail calls, because, well, OCaml, you want tail calls, and there's no reason not to implement them, except if you're Microsoft, apparently. And type function references, because, well, if you want to play with an actual functional language, you need something like that, and you need the garbage collector, of course. We didn't implement exceptions, string ref and algebraic effects, because those were not the priorities to play with stuff. It wouldn't be that hard to, well, except algebraic effects might be a bit tricky, unless we use the ones from the compiler, by the way, for OCaml. So I said it grew a bit more at some point, because at the moment we got invited to DACHTool. Thanks for that. And we met some people there from the Lisbon University who said, oh, why don't you try to make a symbolic interpreter with your interpreter? We met later in Paris to play with that. And basically, with kind of 3 days of work, we got a prototype of that. And that was quite fun. So what is a symbolic interpreter? So that's an interpreter that is used for kind of static analysis, which you can see as white box fuzzing with an SMT solver to help you. So that's kind of fuzzing on steroids, because it can know everything about your program and try to reach up to reach branch with classical fuzzing. So, as I said, it can be used for fuzzing, or you can add more properties to what you think about traces and do some kind of bounded model checking, or basically anything that you might want to do on a list of traces on the program. So, how does the symbolic interpreter works in general? So, basically, you take your program, and you just add some state which represents what we call a pass condition. So a pass condition is a Boolean formula that represents all the choices that you had to take to get to reach that point in the program. So for instance, here, you suppose that you start with that PC pass condition here, and you compute some expression. You put that in a local variable, and then you dispatch, you do an if on that Boolean. Well, it's not a Boolean, but behave like one. And then, here, when you define the variable, you just add in your pass condition something that tells you that condition is bound to some variables, some computation. And then afterward, you say something about that variable. In what branch it's true, in the other it's false. What you can do with that is you can ask an SMT solver at that point, does that formula, is that formula satisfiable? If it's satisfiable, then that means that that branch is reachable from the beginning of the program. If it's not, then it's not reachable, and you can just avoid evaluating it. So in practice, there are going to be a lot of small optimization to avoid calling too much SMT solver, but the semantic is basically that. So how do you make a symbolic interpreter from an interpreter? So as you've seen, you need to add some state, and you need to be able to evaluate multiple branches, because if you have both branches here that are potentially satisfiable, then you need to evaluate both to say something about your program. So you need to change your values to be expressions, and you need to change a bit the way the control flow behaves. So basically, you put everything into a functor because of camel, and then you just add a monad to constrain a bit the way the control flow behaves. So before functorization, that's kind of what the interpreter looks like. It's quite simple. I mean, WebAssembly is very simple to interpret. If you have a binary addition, you have two things on the stack and something else. You consume the top of the stack and you push that on the stack. That's the way we did implement it. That's very bad for performance. There's no reason to use pure data structure for something like that. But well, just simpler. But the comparison is going to behave the same way. If you look at that, just forget a bit. That's not going to type check. But who cares about type checking? But basically, in reality, we just pack that into a value that adds more boxing. It's even more inefficient, but it would just have clobbered too much a slide. So when the if then else, and you evaluate a branch, and you evaluate the condition and go into a branch or the other. So to functorize, what you need to do, well, you need to change the type of values, and you just abstract it. You say that the values are a random abstract type, and you change the add and greater than function. Doesn't change much here. And you need to functorize and do something with the dispatch of the branch. And here, the magic character that you need to see is the star here. It could be quite easy to miss. And that you have that's the binding operator of your choice monad. So a choice monad, I'm not completely sure that's a standard word for something like that, but that's something that has a select function that takes a Boolean of the value domain and returns an actual Boolean, but a Boolean inside the monad. So you select on the condition which is a value from the domain, and you get a true Boolean, and you can dispatch there. And then you're finished. You have written your interpreter. Well, almost. You need to actually implement the choice monad, but otherwise, for the actual interpretation part, you're basically finished. Yeah, nice things, because of lambda. If you write the at inline at the right point, the functor application, basically on the normal interpreter version, there is basically no cost. Everything goes away. You just get back the original code. So use f lambda. So the select monad, the select function in the monad, what is it going to do? In the concrete case, the normal interpreter is going to do nothing. It's the identity function. The value from the functor are just the original type, and then you just select a value, and you just continue as if nothing was there. The bind function would have been the identity too. If you add at inline, you inline that identity, it disappears. Identity, it disappeared. You just get the original code. No problem. It would work perfectly with MetaOCaml tools. But in the symbolic case, you need to do something interesting. You need to select a branch that you will actually do, because sometimes that represents actually two booleans, the true and the false. Then in that case, you need to evaluate both branches in some ways. So to do that, basically you have something that is kind of a continuation monad to accumulate the different branches that you will explore. And because we also need to track the path condition, that's a continuation monad plus a state monad where you store the path condition into the state. And you also need to store the actual state of the interpreter inside that state monad to be able to copy it. So yes, if select see a condition where the both branches are valid, you ask the SMT solver for both branches. You see if both are reachable. If both are reachable, you need to copy the state because you will mutate it later. And just continue accumulating and evaluating one of the branches, or basically any branches that were left for evaluation originally. If just one branch is valid, you can just copy efficiently, continue efficiently without copying. So how does it perform? So it's a quite naive implementation. I mean, if you look at a proper symbolic evaluator for C or stuff like that, they are quite complex. They often work on the LLVM-IR, have lots of specific optimization. But that way, we have quite something that is quite decent, even for a quite naive implementation. So one important part of that is that we use Z3, and most of the time is spent into the SMT solver. And of course, that's going to be the most part of your analysis. But anyway, I think that something that is useful to know is that WASM is a bit higher level than LLVM-IR in some way. And we probably have to ask the SMT solver less often than you would have to do for C analysis on another IR, or a lot more if you were trying to analyze binary files. So yes, also we wanted to benchmark against other things, so we had to try C because the other analyzers are here to analyze C. And to analyze C, you need to handle malloc and free, so we did implement some version of malloc and free, some symbolic versions. And we have some specific representation that are more efficient than just bit banging the whole memory to avoid clobbering and building a gigantic SMT formula. what is really missing compared to proper implementation is an implementation of join points. We have ideas how to do that. We just didn't do it. But join points are when you return from an if something that increase the size of the SMT formula, but avoid multiplicating branches. That's basically a trade-off between the time in the SMT and time in the interpreter. So yeah, one message from it is that if you want to do some analysis on languages in general, I think that WASM is quite a good language. It's probably better than LLVM because it's specified at least. It's stable, it's quite simple, and you can understand what's going on. And I think that many languages are going to target that, so that's probably quite a good target. If you just implement the necessary runtime into your imports, you're going to have probably quite good abstractions. So the future, we are probably going to add more extension and have something that is sufficiently complete to use the current WAS-OCaml. And we certainly want to experiment with JIT. Meta-OCaml is going to help with that. Yeah. So if you want to play with it, it's on GitHub. You can use that for whatever you want, and it's open, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. This is very interesting. I have one question. So you showed us that you have a choice operator over the Boolean domain. Is that enough? Like, for example, thinking of something like BR table, don't you need a choice over integers actually? And how do you?
No, that was an actual simplification for the slide. But we
okay.
also have something for all the integers. And so for Booleans, it's quite easy because SMT solver provides exactly what you want.
Yeah.
For when you have something that is larger, basically you construct a formula, you ask it, you ask a model, it gives you a model. If you don't have a model, then everything is unreachable. And then you ask whether there is something that negates the model and is still satisfiable, and you continue like that in enumerating integers. So you have to be quite careful on how to produce good constraint before for the SMT solver to avoid having something that is infinite, then rejecting that later. But yeah.
But it also makes the search space explode a little bit more, right?
Well, there's no way around when you actually have some BR table or something like that.
Do you have any experience with real-world programs or like some programs that do use that in Anger, and what the performance will be of the abstract interpretation then? Like,
so we did try on some classical symbolic execution benchmark for C, where there were indirect calls to C functions. But in practice, I think they don't dispatch much. So that's not the way people are expected to use C in general.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
So I don't really know.
Thank you. Cool.
Okay, so we have a question from Discord from Alan who asks whether you think the fact that WASM uses a stack instead of SSA makes it hard to serve the same purposes that LLVM IR does.
You mean for I'm not sure I see where it's going to. I mean, the stack is completely. It's an easy state that you have locally. It's not a C stack. It's not. So basically, it's kind of like SSA. You can track the value the same way. So, well, it's not going to change much. Yeah.
Thanks. Let me ask one question of my own then. So I'm interested in how you might support algebraic effects, and I wonder whether something similar to this trick that you've done with the choice monad, with sort of continuations and state, might be useful. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So that's one possibility, clearly. We thought about that version. Since the interpreter is already written in kind of a CPS style, because there is return call in the language, and it's easier to have something that way too. So it's quite easy to manipulate the stack and copy it and do whatever you want. So that's one way. But just for fun, I think I will try to do that with the actual effect of the language. So, yeah.
Okay, so let's thank Pierre again.